Good morning, all of you. Today, I'm going to discuss about subacute osteomyelitis. There are three types of osteomyelitis, as we have discussed in previous lecture. One is acute, subacute, and chronic osteomyelitis. So right now, I'm going to start with the discussion of subacute osteomyelitis. So more insidious onset and lacks of severity of the symptoms. There is a courses of course, indolent course, and hence the diagnosis is delayed. If the diagnosis is delayed for more than 2 weeks, then we'll call it as subacute. What are the clinical features? There will be for the indolent course of the subacute osteomyelitis is because of following factors, like it can be due to the increased host resistance, decreased bacterial virulence, and administration of antibiotics before the onset of symptoms. That can cause the indolent course of osteomyelitis. Systemic signs and symptoms are always minimal in osteomyelitis of subacute. Temperature is only mildly elevated. There is, of course, mild to moderate pain will be there in the patient. There are some of the investigations which we will send for subacute hematogenous osteomyelitis. There can be the WBCs. If you do the complete blood count, we can see that there is a WBC level can be raised, or it can be minimally normal also. ESR can also be elevated in 50% of the individuals. Only we can see that. Blood cultures, if we do so to find out the organism, it is usually negative, and the plain radiographs and the bone scans are generally good indicators which can suggest of which can suggestive of, along with the clinical features, it can be suggestive of subacute osteomyelitis. Staph aureus and Staphylococcus epidermidis are the prominent organisms identified in subacute osteomyelitis. Now let's discuss and take some discussion towards Brodie's abscess. What is Brodie's abscess? It is a localized form of subacute osteomyelitis which is occurring most commonly in the long bones of the lower extremities. Okay, so the patient will have long duration of intermittent pain most of the times, and there will be complaint of pain and tenderness in the affected area. Here in the diagram, we can see Brodie's abscess. There is Brodie's abscess, and there will be patient will be having localized pain and tenderness in the long term of the symptoms. On plain radiographs, it appears as a lytic lesion, so we can confuse it with the other DDs also. But we have to make sure that we compare it with the clinical features and the history. So plain radiographs will show as a lytic lesion with the rim of sclerotic bone. Uh, we can see in the cultured organism, we can see Staph aureus in 50% of the individuals, and some of them can give negative cultures also. The condition, it requires open biopsy with curettage to make the correct diagnosis. So the wound should be closely loosened loosely over the drain. Here we can see Gledhill classification of subacute hematogenous osteomyelitis. In one, we can see at the metaphyseal epiphyseal region. At the metaphysis, just we can see there is abscess, and then second classification we can see there is erosion of the metaphyseal ends, and in third we can see there is the diaphyseal ends is completely taken off. Treatment of subacute hematogenous osteomyelitis can be biopsy and curettage, followed by the treatment with appropriate antibiotics of all lesions that seems to be aggressive. So we need to use the proper antibiotics so that the resistance should not be developed, or if the resistance is already there, we should change the antibiotic to a broader spectrum of antibiotics and a higher antibiotics. For lesion that seem to be simple abscess in the epiphysis or metaphyseal biopsy, in the epiphysis or metaphysis, biopsy is not recommended. In IV antibiotics for 48 hours followed by the 6 week of course of oral medications are indicative. So the next we'll take our discussion to the chronic osteomyelitis. In last two classes we have last two lectures we have already discussed acute, subacute. Now it's a time for chronic osteomyelitis. So the hallmark is the chronic osteomyelitis. If the infection is not at all, if it is taking more than 4 weeks, we'll call it as more than 4 weeks, or till the 3 months. More than 3 months, if it is taking, we'll call it as chronic osteomyelitis. The hallmark is infected dead bone within a compromised soft tissue envelope. This is the main hallmark of chronic osteomyelitis. I'll repeat again. The hallmark is the infected dead bone within a compromised soft tissue envelope. That is the hallmark. So the infected foci within the bone are surrounded by sclerotic, relatively avascular bone covered by a thickened periosteum and scarred muscles and subcutaneous tissue. So Now, next is the sinus tract cultures usually do not correlate with the cultures obtained in biopsy. So, chronic osteomyelitis in we can see the values like in 2008, 2009, 2010, and then 11. Latest, this is the data which we can see have always been better with the use of proper antibiotics and proper treatment. Next is the classification of chronic osteomyelitis. In anatomical classification, it can be four types like medullary, superficial, localized, and diffuse. So medullary, there is will be how it will relate. There will be endosteal disease. Second is superficial. There is cortical surface infected due to the coverage defect. Third is localized. There is cortical sequestrum that can be excised without the compromising stability. And diffuse is the fourth one. There will be the features of medullary, superficial, and localized. And there will be plus there will be mechanical instability before and after the debridement. Here we can see the diagrammatic representation in anatomical. What is happening? There will be endosteal disease. In superficial, there will be cortical surface infected due to coverage defect. And the sequestrum can be seen in localized. Third is localized without compromising stability. And the fourth is diffuse. There is mechanical instability defect is there before or after debridement. Next is physiological type of classification of chronic osteomyelitis. First is host normal, host compromise, and host prohibitive. The host normal is immunocompetent with good local vascularity. Host compromise is local or systemic factors that compromise immunity or healing. Healing. Host prohibitive is minimal disability, prohibitive morbidity anticipated, or poor prognosis for cure. So diagnosis of chronic osteomyelitis based on either clinical, laboratory, or imaging studies. So we'll look side by side. In clinical evaluation, there will be skin and soft tissue integrity will be there. Tenderness will be there. Bone stability will be. You have to see for the bone stability whether it is lost or it is maintained. Neurovascular status of the limb. How is the neurovascular status of the limb? Whether the patient is having intermittent claudication or pain, or how is the whether he's having resting pain or not. Presence of sinus can also be visualized, can also be seen and should not be missed out. Laboratory chronic osteomyelitis is erythrocytic sedimentation rate, C-reactive protein, WBC count are only elevated in 35%. Biopsy or histological or microbiological evaluations can be seen. In that, we can see about the Staphylococcus species and anaerobes because they don't need any oxygen. There and gram-negative bacilli can also be evaluated. Organisms on chronic osteomyelitis in Girassi 1981 found that the commonest organism found at the orthopedic unit there was then combative or Staphylococcus aureus, which was resistant to penicillin and ampicillin. So another studies like pain X-rays can also be seen here. In the X-rays, the important points are 4 points which we can see. So one is cortical destruction, periosteal destruction, reaction, sequestra, and scenography. Here we can see there is cortical destruction. There is also apart from that there is cortical destruction. There is periosteal reaction. Sequestra can also be seen in that. This is a scenographic. Next is the imaging. Isotropic bone scanning more useful in acute than in chronic osteomyelitis. Gallium scans to increase the uptake in areas and leukocytes and bacterium accumulate. CT scan can also be used to identify if we have to identify the proper sequestra, where what investigation is the main thing. After the sonography, we can again go back to the CT scans. The CT scans are best to identify the sequestra. So the definition of cortical bone and surrounding soft tissues. MRI, next is the MRI. It shows margins of the bone and soft tissue edema. Evaluate recurrence of infection after 1 year. Rim signs can also be seen in MRI. It is a well-defined rim of the high signal intensity surrounding the focus of active disease. Sinus tracts and cellulitis can be seen. Now, what is the treatment of chronic osteomyelitis? Surgical treatment is the main treatment for chronic osteomyelitis. Now, we have seen whether the antibiotics will work or not. Along with the antibiotic coverage, we'll go for the sequestrectomy. There will be we'll take the sequestra, will remove the sequestra from the bone, infected bone. Resection of the scarred and infected bone and soft tissues. Radical debridement can be done. A resection margins of more than 5 mm. Adequate debridement leaves a dead space that needs to be managed to avoid recurrence, and there should be bony instability which should be maintained. Skin grafts, muscle and myocutaneous flaps, free bone transfers, Papineau technique has to be followed. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy and vacuum dressings has to be done. Antibiotic duration is controversial. So many people say 4 weeks, many people say 6 weeks. Many books have said different techniques. So 6 week is the traditional duration which we follow. 1 week of IV, then followed by 6 weeks of oral therapy. Antibiotic polymethylene methacrylate therapy (PMMA) meets as a temporary filler for that dead space. That is, again I'll repeat, polymethyl methacrylate. Biodegradable antibiotic delivery system has to be seen. Resection or excision for chronic osteomyelitis. Resection of a segment of affected bone may be necessary to control infection. With techniques of bone graft and soft tissue transport, massive resections can be performed and reconstructed without significant disability. Here also we can see that we have reconstructed the or excision of chronic osteomyelitis, and we have reconstructed the bone. Amputation for osteomyelitis. What are the indications for amputation? Either there is arterial insufficiency, either there is major nerve palsy, paralysis, non-functional limb stiffness, contractures, or malignant change. Prevalence of malignancy arising from chronic osteomyelitis reported in 0.2 to 1% of the cases. Most are squamous cell carcinoma, also retinoculum cell carcinoma, and fibrosarcoma. Sclerosing osteomyelitis of Gary. There is a thickened bone and distended, but the abscess and sequestra are absent. The cause is mostly unknown. Sclerosing osteomyelitis of Gary. There is sclerosing osteomyelitis of Gary, which we can see in the tibia. Now, this is which we can see in the Thank you.